What's going on, fellas? Have you ever had a internal struggle? A struggle that only you and nobody else knows about. And this struggle is something that is preventing you from fulfilling your greatest potential. When people ask you, how's life? How's everything going? You say, oh, everything is fantastic. And there's this outward picture that's being painted that everything is great. But when you pull back the curtain, you're hurting. If that's the case, today we talk about the mask. This is what I describe as the mask and how to successfully remove this mask so that you can live a life of fulfillment, great purpose, and ultimately fulfill your greatest potential today on Elite Performance. So, I don't know if you have ever had an internal struggle. Or maybe you currently have one, and I define this as a struggle that nobody knows about, right? It's something that nobody knows about, but outwardly to the world, you express this life or lifestyle that everything is fine. Somebody says, "How are you doing, man?" You say, "Oh man, things are fantastic. Things are great." We paint this outward picture of success and everything is honky dory, right? But when you peel back the curtain, you're hurting. I don't know if you've ever felt that way, and you may currently be feeling that way of having this internal struggle. And really, I call this the mask. This is a problem. The problem is the mask. Here's the definition. Here's how I define the mask. The mask is a well decorated, hidden internal struggle. It is a well decorated, hidden internal struggle. And the reason I define it this way is because if you think about it, let's just break this down. It's well decorated. That means this thing is decorated with nice car, nice house, good salary, great vacations. It's decorated with stuff on the outside to make it all look great. But that's the well decorated part. However, it's hidden so that nobody can see. As a matter of fact, sometimes we will adorn this hidden struggle with more stuff. We'll just keep decorating it so nobody can get to it, so nobody can really see it. It's hidden and it's an internal struggle, meaning that it's our thing and nobody else knows about it. This is a silent killer of us professional men. And it's in many different areas of our lives, right? It's in many different areas of our life. It could be in our faith. We could be struggling in our faith and be like, yo, like, I just feel like I'm not connected with God. Or maybe I'm just making poor decisions and there's this sinful nature that's just taken over, right? We could be struggling in our marriage. We could be struggling on being the best husbands that we're supposed to be. We're not honoring our wives, both in or outside of the home. We're not being the fathers. We're struggling with anger, struggling with connecting, struggling with the relationships in our lives, in our household, outside of our household, struggling in our health, struggling financially, struggling in trying to advance in our career, struggling with having clarity on what our purpose actually is. It can be in any one of these areas of life, but it is an internal struggle that has yet to be shared with anybody except yourself. And it just tends to be a silent killer. It was the thing for me, man. Look, Brad, Dr. Ballard, right? Doctor, made it from where I grew up in Houston. No doctors in my family, right? Just made it to be a successful doctor. Became a successful home-based business owner. Everything looks great. Moved out to the suburbs, right? I'm this successful professional now. Like it all looks great. And I made sure it looked great in front of everybody because guess what? I needed to keep wearing the mask because behind that mask, I was struggling as a husband, struggling as a father, struggling in my faith, not optimizing my health, right? My career was advancing, but it was coming at the cost of all this other stuff. But I felt like I just had to keep accumulating stuff. I had to keep accumulating titles. I had to keep accumulating some money. I had to keep accumulating and decorating this outside picture. And the entire time, this mask is really suffocating me. And so the problem with the mask is this mask, this silent killer creates prolonged pain. It creates prolonged pain because you're doing so much work to make sure that this internal struggle really doesn't get expressed or talked about, almost so that you can almost forget it. You know what I mean? And so it's just prolonged pain. It's just prolonging the pain over time. And the reason it is one is because of pride. Is because we get to this point to where whatever the struggle is, we somehow tend to think like, you know what, I don't need no help. I don't need no help. I can fix me. I'll be able to fix me all on my own. And then you start to realize that that struggle goes from weeks to months to years, and you still ascribe to this, idea that yeah, I can fix me. It's called pride. I don't need help. I'll be able to fix me. And the other reason why it causes prolonged pain is not just pride, but this persuasion that you kind of persuade yourself to think, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I'm good. It's just not that bad. And so as a result, the pain just keeps lasting longer and longer and longer. And here's the deal: this mask, unlike the mask that we used during the time of COVID to protect us, this mask is not here to protect you. This mask does not protect. This mask prevents from growing and developing. It prevents us from growing and developing because it is literally suffocating us and is keeping you quiet and silent. Because as long as you stay quiet and silent about this thing, whatever that thing is for you, it's just going to continue. It's just going to continue to be a quiet and a silent killer. Sorry, my little alarm went off right here. But that's the thing. So I think about, in medicine, hypertension or high blood pressure is often labeled as the silent killer because people can't say that they feel hypertension. You don't feel blood pressure. No matter what you say, some people are like, oh man, you got my blood pressure rising. You talking about stress. But I'm talking about no one like feels blood pressure. It is a silent killer. And it slowly grows and gets worse over time. It silently kills people. You can't see it, you can't feel it, and it grows and it happens over time. That's what happens with this mask. It would almost be better for this internal struggle we have to actually externally be expressed because then somebody can be like, hold up, bro, like you limping, you need to go to the doctor. But as long as it's internally suppressed, nobody can see it, you can hide it real well, it just continues to grow and fester and fester. In the dark, things grow really big without people being able to see it. That's what happens. Things just grows in the dark. And so the mask is made to keep you silent for several reasons. One, it influences you to make you feel like you're the only one who deals with something like this. Like you are the only one. Like nobody else deals with whatever this problem is that you have, whether it's a marriage problem, whether it's a relationship problem, whether it's some sort of addiction problem, whether it's an adultery problem, whether it's a money problem. It don't matter. The mask makes you feel like you're the only person who struggles with it, period. Right. So that keeps you silent. You're like, well, I highly doubt anybody else is dealing with this stuff. So I ain't gonna say nothing. Right. The mask also prevents you from from speaking up, or it influences you to be quiet, is because it makes you think you got to be perfect. You got to keep up with the Joneses, man. You can't be the one that got problems out here. So it forces you to try to live this life of perfection. And as long as you're trying to live this life of perfection, it ain't gonna never end. So I gotta keep up with the Joneses, man. I gotta make sure my stuff looks straight in front of everybody else, no matter what. I gotta make sure everybody think that ain't nothing wrong with my life, right? And it keeps you worried about what other people think. And so all this stuff, the mask is there to keep you quiet. Part of the reason why I call it a silent killer. Keeps you silent and kills you as a result of the silence that is inducing in you. And so here's the solution. I don't want to talk about this without giving some things that we have to do to help us safely and successfully remove the mask. Because what I can tell you is that as soon as I did what I'm about to share with you now, I was able to safely remove the mask. And on the other side of that was fulfillment, really was freedom of letting this mess that was in the dark come to light. Just turning the light on and seeing what was there. you know so there's freedom on the other side of that, there's fulfillment on the other side of that, and there's successfully overcoming and growing and developing past whatever it is that the struggle was actually going to be. So success is on the other side of what we're going to talk about right now, and the solution is confidential communication. Confidential communication. This allows you to take off the mask and stop being suffocated by it. The solution to this mask is confidential communication. Communicating with someone in such a way that you trust and don't feel judged, and you can express what's really going on, turn that light on in the darkness, and really be able to see the mess that's there for what it's worth and start working on it. So, first step that you need to do is you have to surrender to the idea that you can fix you all on your own. First step is you just got to say, man, look, I can't do this. I can't fix me all on my own. And see, a lot of people, and myself included, I always thought that was a sign of weakness. Like I got to pony up and I got to do this thing on myself. Like I got the willpower. I can do it. I can make it happen. And you know what? Some of you guys, you know what? May be able to do it. I don't know. I have yet to come across somebody who, when they have an internal struggle, they can just do it all on their own. So 99.999 times out of 100, you probably not that dude. I ain't never met one yet. You have to just surrender to the idea you can't fix you on your own. You wasn't supposed to. The life is not meant to live and do life on your own. So this whole thing was set up to have to be dependent on a God and others to be able to help you be the best that you can be. You can't grow in isolation, right? You may do some things isolated in order to grow, but you can't specifically just grow in isolation with nothing else around. That's it. Ain't gonna happen. So you got to surrender to the idea, and that's not weakness, it's wisdom. So this was the reason why I say this is one of the first things you got to do is because I resisted for the longest period of time and just kept convincing myself because of the mask and say, you know what, I can fix me, bro. Like I can fix me. Like I'm good. I'm gonna just keep working on it. Like no, well, until I started having confidence, trust that I could start working on me, that I could start growing and developing in each of the areas where this mask was being expressed in my life. So you got to just surrender to that idea. It's wisdom, not weakness. The surrendering, because that word is tough for us to surrender to something. Like I get it, bro. Like I get you don't want to let go of something, but at the end of the day, you just got to let go of the pride and just be like, all right, all right, all right. I give up. Cool. I'm gonna reach out to some help. Second thing you got to do is you got to share. So first thing is surrender. Second thing you got to do is share. Share what's happening with two entities. I don't want to say people because God isn't a person, right? But the first thing first person you got to share this with, you got to go to God, man. You got to go to God, and you just have to share with Him what's going on. Well, here's the deal: He already knows what's going on, but He wants to hear it from you. He wants to hear it from you, and this is part of that first part, kind of surrendering to the idea you can't do it all on your own, right? Is you just got to go to Him, right? You have to go to Him. and express what's going on, express your feelings, just pour your heart out, man. And ask for help to change your heart. Ask your help to be willing to share with someone else. And if you don't have somebody you can share with, ask him if there's somebody in your life that could be presented in your life for you to safely share with. Because the other thing that you got to do in that share is you got to find somebody you trust. You got to literally find somebody you trust that you can sit down with and there's no judgment to be like, yo, listen, I need to talk. Like I can tell you right now, I mean, Patrick, thank you. Oliver, thank you. My brother, thank you. Sean, my man Sean, thank you. Right? This is how it started for me. It was just people who I trusted. This is how it started for me. I just found it somebody, just found someone, found it. I found somebody that I could trust. And I reached out to him and we had confidential communication to start to work this out. All right. And the last thing you got to do is you got to do it regularly. You got to do this regularly. So again, surrender to the idea you can't do it on your own. Second thing is share. In that share, you got to share with God and you have to share it with somebody else that you can trust with no judgment and that it just stays where it is, that it doesn't go outside of the realm of that conversation. And on the other side of that, man, is freedom. It's freedom. The likelihood, there's a high likelihood that there is something that is an internal struggle that you know is stopping you from fulfilling your greatest potential. You know it is. It's stopping you. It's stunting your ability to move, to advance in either work or life. And it could be a struggle within work or outside of it in life. It doesn't matter. But you know what it is, and it's probably stopping you from getting to the next level. I can tell you, because I've been there before. And I've helped other people get past it. But part of it is going to have to be some confidential communication so that we can safely remove this mask, successfully remove this mask. On the other side of it is freedom, fulfillment, growth, and success over the thing that has begun to overcome you. You can overcome it by doing the things we're talking about today. So here's what I need you to do. Follow those 3 steps that I talked about. Surrender, share, and make sure that you do it regularly. And look, if I can help, hit me up, man. If I can help be that person, hit me up. If not, that's cool, but find someone. Obviously, go to God, find someone, and I can tell you on the other side of this, it's going to be a much better life.